Today I'm going to be walking you through how to do the first of our summer fun kits. Today we're going to be making these positivity mugs. Here's mine that already came out of the kiln. It has a nice rainbow on here that we made using a magic sticker. It's kind of like cheating, but I'm totally okay with that. And you'll get to decide what you want to personalize it with at the end. I chose Choose Joy. You can decide what you want it to be, and we will personalize that with the lettering for you for free when you drop it back off at the studio. All right, so I'm gonna make sure I have all my supplies. I have my mug ready to be painted. I've got a little brush and a big brush and a toothbrush. I picked out some really nice color paints, and I have my magic sticker of my rainbow. Some things from home that you might want to have on hand include some Scotch tape, a bowl or a cup of water for rinsing out your brushes, and either paper towels or cloth towel to dry them off. You don't want your brush to be really wet when you put it back in the paint, otherwise you're gonna get more of a watercolor look to it. You also might want to have a speckle shield on hand. This is just a piece of cardboard, so when I am doing my speckling later on, I don't end up speckling everything in the room. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna pour some nice color paints. The colors that we picked for our mug are Tutu Tango, and this is how that one looks. I also have some Pooh Bear. It's a nice golden yellow. I have some Mermaid Song. This is a very, very popular color. It's kind of a nice teal color. And lastly, some Orange Sorbet, which sounds delicious, but I will not be tasting it. And this is how that one looks. So I spilled my paint. That's totally fine. It's all washable. So if you spill your paint at home too, it'll wash off of everything. Now, when I made my first mug, I did my logo so that when I hold my cup to drink, because I'm right-handed, I see it. I'm gonna make mine the opposite for this mug today. Just gonna lay that down there. Now, before I go ahead and peel my magic sticker to apply it to my mug, I'm gonna use a little piece of Scotch tape. If you don't have Scotch tape, then even just like masking tape would do for this. And all you need is one little piece. And I'm gonna place it right across my design. Just like that. That way when I separate the blue from the backing paper, it doesn't all come off kind of wonky. And if you're worried about it, you can get one more piece on the top. I'm gonna be super thorough, I'm gonna throw that on there. So now I have that tape on there. I'm gonna go ahead and separate the backing paper from the top. So gently peel that back. Sometimes it helps if you put the sticker face down on the table and then peel back the backing from it. And I can get rid of that. And now get ready to decide where I want this situated on here. Just like that. Now when I decide where I want this to be, I want to make sure that I leave some room at the bottom for the personalization. If you rather have the lettering at the top, then you can shift the rainbow down a little bit. But just keep that in mind that you want like about ½ an inch for those letters. Once I have the position, right, I'm just gonna smooth that down. Make sure all the edges are down there. The very outside of my sticker, it doesn't matter if that's completely down. What really is gonna matter is anywhere inside those rainbow lines. I wanna make sure that's smoothed down. Once I have it in place, I'm gonna gently peel off my Scotch tape that I used as like a transfer tape. And when I do that, sometimes a little bit of the blue magic sticker is gonna come off. Just want to smooth that back down as I go. And then do my other one too. There we go. And if you're having kids do this, you might want to give them a hand for this part. All right. So I got that all smoothed down, no bubbles. And I'm ready to start painting. So I did my colors with a tutu tango, then the Pooh Bear, and then the mermaid song, and then that orange sorbet. I think I'm gonna mix it up for this one, do a little different. So I'm actually gonna start with my tutu tango on the inside. And when I do this, the magic sticker is gonna keep the paint from going like too far out. But I do wanna make sure that I don't put so much paint on that it goes over into the next rainbow lane, I guess you would call it. Now with these glazes, to get a solid look, you're gonna wanna use 3 coats of paint. So I'll let this dry in between the coats and I'll move on to my next color. So I just wanna make sure my brush is washed off. Swish it in some water, and then just dry it on the paper towel or cloth towel, whatever you happen to have handy. I can go on to my next color. Next I'm gonna do, I'll do the Pooh Bear from the inside. Now you could just do 1 coat for each of these rainbow bands. And if you do that, it's gonna give you more of like a streaky watercolor look. You'll see the brush strokes in it. When I did mine, I did like 2.5, like 2 solid coats and a light one. And I like how that look came out too. But you have some freedom with it. I'll go ahead and rinse my brush out for the next color. Dry it on paper towel. Now I'm gonna do my orange that I spilled. There we go. When we made this project, we were looking for something that was bright and cheery, because we really need that now. And thanks to the magic sticker being in the shape that it is, if you did have a young artist and they were kind of freestyling it with a couple different colors all together, the magic sticker is gonna mask out all these other areas. So when you lift the sticker, you're still gonna have a really cool rainbow design. So it works really nicely for that. There's that brush out. And last but not least, I can get my mermaid song on here. Now the first coat dries really quickly, so by the time I get the first 4 color coats down, I can go back right through and start with my colors for the second coat again. All right, so now that I have the second coat of my colors on, I'm gonna let it dry for a minute. Just so you can kind of see where I'm at so far. Now a lot of people ask, how do you know when the paint is dry enough to add another coat? My rule of thumb is when you're looking at the paint, if the sheen of it goes away, that means it's dry enough that you can get another coat on. So this is almost ready for that. All right, so the sheen of my paint is dry. I'm gonna go ahead and get one more coat of my 4 colors on there. All right, so I got my 3 coats on there. And we'll give the paint just a moment to set before we go ahead and do the reveal of removing the magic sticker. And instead we're gonna talk about the next step. So one of the things I really like about this piece is the speckled look. So after I painted my rainbow on, I went ahead and speckled in all 4 of my colors along with a black paint too. And it's something if you want to do, you can. At first I was a little nervous about adding black paint all over it, but I really like the kind of almost like a gritty texture that it gave the piece, especially since I was going to be doing the lettering in black. So we'll go ahead and do that too. When you're speckling, you definitely want to make sure you have some sort of speckle shield on hand. Like I was saying before, I just use like a piece of cardboard and I kind of stand it up behind my piece so that when I am speckling, I'm not launching paint all over the room. Another thing to keep in mind is when I am speckling, I'm gonna get a little bit of paint on my toothbrush. I recommend using just a little bit at a time. If you see kind of like blobs on it, wipe some of that off. It's a little too much. You can always add more afterwards. When you have the paint on there, there's 2 different ways that you can speckle. You could take your finger from the bottom of the toothbrush up, kind of like this, or you could have your finger go from the top of the toothbrush down. What we have learned the hard way is that if you go from the bottom up, you're really just gonna launch all that paint at yourself. Maybe that's what you're going for. Maybe like you just really wanna be speckled in paint. Today I don't. So I learned if you start from the top and pull down, almost like you're like pulling like the trigger of it, the paint will launch forward and less at you. All right, so this looks good. We're gonna go ahead and take the sticker off of this. I love this part. All right, so I'm gonna start at the corner. And before I do this, before you take your sticker off, just make sure you don't see any like blobs of paint around here. If you have some blobs, just let it sit a little longer before you go ahead and peel off the sticker. But I'm good to go. Here we go. And with that. And if you have any little crumbs of paint, like these little pieces, don't try to brush them off immediately. Like, you can kind of like shake your mug off, but wait till it really dries before you brush it off in case there's still like some wet paint and you end up smudging it. All right, so I'm gonna get ready to do my speckling now. I have my speckle shield set up here, and I'm gonna place my mug right about here. That way you can still see what I'm doing. I'm gonna start with my lightest color first. That way, as I wipe it off in between uses, any paint that's still on there isn't gonna make it like too muddy or anything. So I'm gonna get a little bit of paint on my toothbrush first. And I'll hold this up so you can see it. I have just a little bit of paint on there. And I'm gonna aim it at my mug. And remember, I'm gonna start at the top of the toothbrush and pull my finger down. That way I'm not speckling myself completely. So get a little bit of spray of color. Also watch, as you do that a couple times, you might notice you might get like a drop on your finger. Just wipe that so it doesn't drip on your piece or anything. I'm gonna turn my mug around. That way I can get the back side too. I'll get a little more paint on there. Now I'm not trying to speckle inside the mug because I'm gonna paint that all one color in a minute. Usually I go a little heavier with the lightest color and a little lighter than with the darker colors. So I get a nice amount of yellow on there, nice and cheery. And then I'm gonna use my towel just to wipe off some of the excess of my toothbrush. I'm not gonna go ahead and wet it because I don't want my toothbrush to be really wet and have me just speckling water on my piece. So I'm just gonna dry wipe it. Move on to my next color, I'm gonna do some orange. Again, just a little bit at a time. Turn around. As you can see from my table, I'm kind of making a mess. This is where we go back to that whole thing of it being washable. It's very handy. If you're worried, you can even put down some newspaper where you're painting or like old magazines or something, and that just makes for really easy cleanup. I'm gonna wipe that one off too. And dry enough. And I'm gonna get my, probably do that reddish color, that Tutu Tango next. Wipe off some of the excess. Ooh, that looks cool. Wipe that off one more time. And I'm gonna get my Mermaid Song, my teal color in there. Sometimes when you speckle, you might get a bigger little blob somewhere. That's just kind of part of the charm of the speckling. It's kind of wacky and free going. Get just a tiny bit more of that blue. Perfect. All right, so now I'm gonna speckle a little bit of the black. I wanna make sure I use very, very little of this. Less is more when you're starting to add a really dark color like black to the piece. You can always add more, but it's really hard to take it off if you don't like it, if it's too much. So I get just a little on my toothbrush. And I'm just gonna do very little on the front because I don't want too much speckle on top of my rainbow. And I'll probably do a little more on the other sides. So if you made it through that and managed not to speckle too much stuff, you can take your toothbrush. I'll just put it in the water for now. Wipe off my finger. So you can see how easy it is to wash off. And here is how my mug looks so far. Alright, so the next thing I'm gonna do is pick which color I wanna paint the inside. So I painted this one on the inside with the Pooh Bear as a nice bright color. I think this one I'm gonna go probably with the Tutu Tango. The reason for that is because that's the color I painted on my smallest part of the rainbow. So it's the color I use the least of, so I'll balance it by putting a lot inside. You don't have to do anything like that necessarily. You could even paint like a secret message on the bottom, like more please or all gone. And that way whenever whoever is drinking out of the mug gets to the bottom, they see that. It'd be kind of cute. But I'm just gonna go for the solid coat. So I'm gonna use my big brush for this. And I'm gonna get Ollie in there. I usually start painting all the way in the bottom first and then work my way up the sides. As you get close to the edge at the very top, you want to decide how high you want to paint up there with the paint color. I like to stop just at the edge so that around the rim of my mug it's white. There you go. So as you can see, I have my first coat painted of the inside. I'm gonna let this dry and then I'm gonna get 2 more coats on the inside, just like how I painted the coats of my rainbow on the outside. After you finish that, your mug is pretty much done. If you want, you can paint your name or add a picture to the bottom of your mug. Otherwise, let it dry overnight. Bring it to the studio. Let us know what you want to have written under there. I would keep it short. It would be hard for us to fit like a whole poem there, but nice phrase that you like, some positive statement, or you can stick with our classic choose joy. We will personalize that and get that fired for you. Thanks for watching. Hope you had a fun time painting our positivity mugs, and we'll see you next time. Bye.